amalgamation of indigenous peoples who will then self-determine the decision-making and continual existence of the United States of America. This alternative is going to solve because, first of all, questions of the indigenous peoples can then be determined by them collectively. It's always going to be better than us determining this. Not only that, the two arguments that they can work our judicial framework back from the inside to recalculate themselves into our judicial framework is always going to be key to the affirmative ground. But additionally, not key to affirmative ground, sorry, key to indigenous peoples' non-essentialization. But the three arguments is always going to be solving better than the affirmative because really most of the claim insolvency is that they give indigenous peoples back a little bit of the land that were stolen anyway. We're giving 100% of it back. What now, bitches? We're always going to be winning this argument. The fourth argument is that you have no propensity to solve because it's an empty gift that never gets analyzed in the court system. Your plan is enough because we need a bigger and more sweeping reform, which means we're always going to be solving better than next. You can just cross-apply all their impacts as to why we're essential. Go to the next argument, counterplan text. The United States federal government will approve and ratify a modified version of the UN Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, omitting with reservation Article 26. This is mutually exclusive because you can't sign with reservations. You can't sign the original bill itself. To do it is always going to be competing on net benefits because we have disadvantage. Article 26 says indigenous people have the right to lands, territories, and resources which they have traditionally owned, occupied, or otherwise used. This is always going to be a lie. When this is non-binding, it means that we're always going to be saying, hey, we're going to give you back all the land, but we're never going to be giving them all the land, which means it's always going to be us cheating them out of the land in the first place. We might as well not even promise it in the first place. It's always going to solve better the discourse of the affirmative insolvency number one that Obama's already adopted as a stance. All we need is an official commitment. This is from Washington Times, December 2010. The two arguments is it's non-binding legislation with no legal enforcement. Three arguments that the natives are always getting fucked over. This is clearly a paternalistic act. We can at least solve it better by not promising things we're not going to fulfill. DA1, zebra mussels. Unique to the first of all invasive species, eat larval fish and other species from food starving. Actually, never mind. I'm going to skip that. Go to the advantages. They talk about we're going to be on subpoint 2. They have a bad flow. That we're going to be stopping cultural genocides. But they say it comes before other discourse at the point where you are prioritizing discourses. Not only are first of all you're engaging in the utilitarian framework, which you said that was bad. But second of all, you're always going to be blinding us to future discourses in the future. Next, go to advantage number 2 in the environment. They say indigenous peoples are key to the environment. This is exoticism. That is why we are essentializing indigenous peoples because we say that they are altogether better for the environment. That's always going to be essentializing them. The two arguments is that again you say oil spills are destroyed. Well, yeah, anyway, that's all I need.
Yeah. He totally got the roadmap for me.
Okay,
He had
sorry.
So many, it's okay, just he had so many little things I need to know.
You want this or you want
I got it. Okay, so it's going to be the first topicality, then framework, and then the critique, then the counter plan. Actually,
Sorry, are you doing your framework or our framework like separate?
Yeah, that's my question. Are you going to do his framework or your framework?
I'm gonna do mine and then go to his.
Okay, cool.
Okay, and then so actually after the framework, then we're gonna do the advantages, and then do actually the critique before the advantages, then the counter plan. And that's it.
Wait, why don't you say that again?
Yeah.
Okay, so the topicality,
Sure.
the framework debate, mine, then his,
Cool.
then the advantages, 1, 2,
Cool.
and then the critique, and then the counter plan.
Okay.
Alright, we ready? Ready?
Yes.
A is the counter-interpretation, the affirmative made analysis so often only off the discourse of the facts came out. The affirmative RCA is the ground and the solvency ground, and the discourse can be just as important. In fact, this is only arguments that we need solvency ground, but we can have solvency ground on discourse of arguments. He's only arguments against this is coming off the critique that we have to not prioritize different discourse in fact, but mine is just going to be just as much fairer because we can have solvency on the discourse, so I have no understanding why there's going to be a solvency deficit on that issue. But the second argument on becoming more key in A ground, I already told you that there's going to be even more K ground on this issue because he predicated an example on this, so there's going to be no ground loss in this situation, even if we can just do discourse of debates. And secondly, I will tell you that's actually going to cause more link ground on disadvantages as well because of the fact that we can link back to the discourse only because there's 100% strength to link on that because I can see exactly what my discourse is in the round instead of giving you a plan that could actually add planks on the end or anything like that. In the third argument on whitewash debate, the fact is that you chose the one the big whitewashing. I'm not whitewashing because the fact I'm giving my discourse right at the beginning telling you why it's going to be weighing power in this situation. So I'm not going to be shipping out. I've seen these arguments about the literature next is that I started the literature argument, but the fact is the Liz about the discourse in the past because the fact that Native Americans have been around or indigenous people have been around for so long that literature is going to be very important. He's maybe not looking to it's not very spot specific, but they're going to be applied to all situations, not issues. So and there's all also additional ground of predictability you can already kind of see on this topic. Specifically, don't let him try to make an extrapolation on predictability because of the fact that right now on this topic, of course, you're reading something like this because it's a very critical topic on that issue. So there's no reason why you're going to just be assuming discursive on predictability. It's just don't let him guard your ground. But additionally, I'll tell you that there's going to be a better impact turn ground because of the fact that on this issue that you can talk about like what he's talking about in the case. So don't let him get any leverage on this, and then he talks about why thought power makes sense. That is thought power, and it's going to come before anything else. Fairness in education. I'm controlling internally fairness because I'm giving you the best cake ground, which you can see is coming out of the AC. It was in the AC that I said I had better cake ground. So if you can see that is a horrible decision on that issue. So you're going to go to that. Now go to the RBI. He makes the worst response I've ever heard to RBI. First, he tells you that it's the negatives option to a question, but the fact is he doesn't give you any warrants why necessarily they need to question the ability to have an RBI. So you can extend and check the piece of theory and the abuse theory of proliferation in the end. So if the RBI is going to be important on that issue, but second extend the B1 that says he's going to equal access to the ballot, and that's the only fair interpretation under fairness. So if you want to go on any fairness, you have to be voting on RBI on that issue. He concedes that. Don't give any new arguments on that issue, and then go to the C point. Extend the no risk arguments, increase on education arguments. So that means if you want to go for an education vote or anything like that, you're going to have to look in prior on that issue. On my time. You're going to have to be looking to prior on that issue. You have to be looking to the RBI, and the D point is all his argument against it is that it's just going to cause no time slip. But that argument is not irrelevant because of the fact that we have to just interpretation at the end. If we're going back to being interpretation, there is no time slip because we both have to dedicate time into it. So it's going to be the same. So worst case scenario, there's going to be no deficit on his time slip over mine. And the E point is talking about only the only typical adjudication because he makes like a no warrant response to this. But the fact is, if we're operating under competing interpretation, that are you have to choose an interpretation. So there is no judge intervention because of the fact that she has to choose an interpretation that's better. And that is the winner of the debate. It's not, there is no bright line to whether it's good enough to vote on theory. You have to vote on theory. Okay, now go to the framework. My framework. His argument against discourse shaped reality, the fact that we're not talking about discourse, but we're talking about the real world issues on this issue. So it's going to be better to shape the political decisions. His argument is not responsive to the real reason why we're going to be necessarily operating the real because the education was coming out of this in-run benefit, not necessarily the impacts that are coming prior, after the plan is passed or anything like that. And his next argument is talking about the real world and talking about why not even converse with the fact that this education is necessary to develop our understanding of the idea. We can't approach these ideas until we actually understand the issue that we're the issue that's regarding this issue. So extend the second framework point that talk about indigenous people's discourse is uniquely important because of the harm we have caused in the past. This can see this is going to be telling you why. My discourse is becoming a priority. His case talking about why this is a bad priority discourse, but I'm clearly going to answer that when we get there on the second. So now to the third point, we're talking about representation. He's making arguments to why we can't weigh between them. The fact is we can't weigh between the discourse of representation because we tell that our discourse is uniquely important for us as Americans because of the fact that what we've done to them in the past. He wants to offer a different wing analysis. He can do that, so there's no reason why he can't weigh on that issue. But secondly, he says the representation, weighing between our representation of these indigenous peoples better than trying to get policy education out of that because of the fact that that's going to be uniquely important to our day-to-day lives. Now, so they extend mutual, so I can say that they're going to.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
You said that the discourse is important for us as Americans, but we as Americans created it. So how do you weigh when it changes? Like you said, I get to weigh the solvency of your discourse as part of your T arguments.
Okay.
So how do I determine whether or not it solves if it's only for you personally?
What do you mean? It's not. It's for this like debate round.
Okay, so is it for real change though?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Okay. Now.
And extend the sixth point under framework to the fact is this is the proper form for the strategy because your future policymakers is going to be answering and his arguments to tell you why this is not going to be beneficial and this would give him hurt his impact on his K because of the fact that this is a good discursive way, so it's basically inevitable. The K is 100% inevitable at the point where this is the proper form for this sort of discourse that we have to be approaching like this. So if I have to debate like this, how can I be critiqued for that issue if they're going to have to debate this as well? Go to the advantages. Now on advantage one. He makes this futile argument. The fact is we can compare between this. He starts thinking in why we're going to be changing the discourse, like we're going to be prioritizing certain discourses. But I already went over how ours is uniquely important. If he doesn't offer any competing way, that's not going to be it. That's going to be irrelevant. So you can extend the third one. The third unique point that talks about cultural genocide is going to occur if we don't do anything about it. We have to have a mind change, and that's going to be the most important thing coming out of this. Because this is very important to educate people on this and go to the link extend the fact that the plan recognizes and respects the rights of indigenous people. That is going to be the benefit coming into the room. And the second point is that you all learn we're being educated about this issue right now before we can actually get into this issue. So my arguments are being prior because of the fact it's the way we interpret his argument. How I educate you and how our discourse is coming out of this is how we view his argument. So it is always going to be preceding those critical arguments that he's making. And so, yeah.
Sorry, last one. You said rights of indigenous people. Rights according to whom?
Rights? What do you
Yeah. You said
Whatever
we affirm the
the
rights of indigenous people.
I guess the UN, whatever the declaration is.
Okay.
But I also already made the argument that the fact is they don't have representation, so the fact is that the UN's going to have to assert some representation, so they'll make a BS argument in the next speech about why that's not going to be sufficient. So now, except the first impact argument, the mindset shift would cause you to more likely support indigenous people right from the life of the people, and this is the most important argument, that's why I'm going to be winning on this issue. So there's a reason why you're going to be on that. Go to the second advantage. The fact is, he's talking about why they're key to the environment. That's not our argument. Our argument is that indigenous people respect the environment a lot, and tune with the environment, not that they're necessary for the environment or anything like that. So you can extend the uniqueness argument to the fact that the environment is key to life, and they have a special connection with this, and the link is the fact that the plan saves the environment in this area. So the impact of the fact is that it's going to have cultural sustainability and personal piece of this. This is going to be prioritized in the back because the fact it's conceded coming right out that he just makes unresponsive responses, but this is very specific to the way that they're in the environment, thus have a personal protection with the environment. So now go to the critique. First start on the alt. One, this takes a step in the direction, is the app takes steps in the direction to actually enable us to actually do the alternative. The fact we have to change our mindset regarding indigenous people before we can actually take the alt and apply it to all people. And secondly, I'll tell you that this just is going to link harder back into it because you can interpret the alternatives, the alternatives evidence and arguments into like a totalitarian mindset that is a certain way that we're supposed to be doing it. So it's going to be linking right back into his K because the fact that he's telling you the alternative should be doing something and that it's going to be controlling all these people. So it's going to be linking right back into the critique. And then the third argument is the fact that anyone can interpret the alternative literature properly and abuse it and have more problems. And secondly, our next argument is that you do it all and accept in this issue of the app because it's the only way that we can attempt to reestablish the idea of what they're talking about. And the second is just to perm do both and all moon change not to apart because there is no reason why we can start to accept the state-based run because the fact is that the resolution is not state-based in the end because the fact that it's just doing it as individuals. I don't understand how this is going to be linking to state power. It's on an individual level. He's miscalculating what it means on an individual level. The links in the scenario are no links, so you can go to the fact that the individual is key first. So even if he wants to win this argument, he first must show that this individual is going to develop into state power. He didn't do that in the last speech. Don't let him try to make these new extrapolations next. And on his empty promise argument, the fact is our argument is very specific on the student framework is that this fiat does not solve back, and that causes the more problems of this no promise because we're not actually doing something when you pass a plan. We're really talking about that means I'm having much more benefits than any other thing else. Go to the counterplan. Their argument is talking about why picking out a specific issue. That's going to be problematic because the fact is our discourse is coming first. So even if they win benefits off this in a policy-making framework, I'm clearly winning why these discursive benefits are coming first and why we educate in a certain manner. That's going to be the problem. That's going to be problematic. I would say this actually link back harder into it because they're trying to take out something that is dealing with them and not giving them rights as a whole.
Okay.
Are you sure they're not ready to publish?
Yeah, I know. Awesome.
T on top. And
Just a sec. Well, I guess I'll see over here.
sorry, maybe have to.
Okay, yeah, I know. Okay. So T on top. Counterplan. Well, the RBI frame.
You're gonna get that on the T.
Oh, on the
Sorry, so say
I'll
RBI
cut-
on.
RBI on
I'm
the T.
gonna do this is all, RBI is on the T, good.
The RBI is on the T, yeah,
Then-
where they floated.
Then just say you float everything on their framework.
Yeah,
And
float
then all
everything on
frameworks
there.
are
Actually, no.
RBIs.
Their framework and then our framework still.
Okay, I got that too.
Sorry.
And then,
Then go K in order. K in order. Then advantages.
advantages.
Actually, sorry. Do advantages then K.
Advantages, then K.
It makes more sense on my flow to do advantages than Stephanie, I need to say this, but would you please make sure your roadmap, because this thing has so many little pieces.
I know.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, if I don't roadmap, I'll get lost myself.
Okay, so, well, yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Alright. First on the T, they're basically saying that the discourse is good and everything, but they're filtering it by saying that RVIs aren't good. So they're saying that we can't actually determine the words that we're actually using specifically, but we are actually supposed to have a discourse, and that the entirety of the discourse is the main thing that you should be looking at in the debate. So the RVI is completely filtering that. So you should throw out RVI completely, since they're trying to their framework bites that back, and so they aren't their framework is a counter to their RVI.
Cross-apply framework, point 5, subpoint B, where they say that it masks real-world problems if we don't talk about stuff.
Alright, yeah, 5 subpoint B, that masks real-world problems if we don't talk about stuff. So,
They vote us down.
so yeah, if they're saying that this is a ballot, then they're biting their own arguments. Alright, so next is counterplan.
Just drop it.
We can see this,
They concede our counterplane framework.
they can see our counterplane framework and of fiat, so, yeah. So on their framework, first off, basically, they're saying that this isn't a unique like a development and so forth, like the white man discourse and stuff. But basically, they're always going to be biting back to this, that their discourse is corrupted because of their way of thinking, that they can't actually accept other people's because they can't separate themselves from the resolution and the ideas behind it. It'll always be into the utilitarian mindset of the Americans. Basically, they're white men and they have to step outside of that, and they aren't like saying anything of words of indigenous people. They're just saying, well, indigenous people are dying and they're like dehumanized and stuff. It's only through from a white man's perspective of death and so forth, and that the environment's affecting them through oil spills and so forth. Yeah. Question.
Beware the fact that